Hello and welcome to Odds on Premier League 35th match day. You were sleeping, Tom. No.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for you. I wasn't prepared. Let's do it live. Do it again.
Are you already nervous ahead tonight's game? In the London Stadium, of course.
Yes, I'm on my way to London Stadium at 5 o'clock today before kickoff. I still can't quite believe it's happening. So today, in tribute to that, my fancy shirt background is all West Ham shirts. There are no other teams. There's no Columbus Crew or Sporting Kansas City or England or the other shirts that I own. It's all Hammers stuff today. Today's the day. Oh, it's happening.
Nice. I had a tough time on Tuesday suffering with Real Madrid, so I hope you enjoy more the game. We will talk about Man City later, West Ham, everything. So guys, remember to leave your comments and press the like, subscribe, and now let's analyze everything in the Premier League. And you are going tonight to the stadium to enjoy a football game, but what Man United fans can think when they are going to Old Trafford also tonight to face Chelsea. This is like going to the cemetery or something like this. We already have one comment, Chelsea to win against Man United. This is always a good option. And now, finally, the bookies don't back Man United. We have very high odds for Man United to beat Chelsea, even if this Chelsea is not as reliable as they should be. The season is almost over for them, apart from the FA Cup final, of course. But for Man United, what to say? 3 defeats in the last 4 games, only beating Norwich and 3-2 and suffering. What do you expect tonight?
Oh, I was delighted that West Ham got through to a European semi-final, not only because I've dreamt of it for 36 years, but also it means I haven't got to watch this one. So it's worked out quite well for me. I was meant to be doing the commentary of the game and, of course, got myself off work. Look, Manchester United, it hasn't been great, okay? It hasn't been great. You know it's not been great. I know it's not been great, but they're still 6th in the table. They're still more than likely to qualify for the Europa League, which is better than they deserve for the season they have had. So, I do think reports of their demise are greatly exaggerated. Having said that, the last 2 performances were tragic in a lot of ways. Even Ronaldo couldn't save them last week against Arsenal. They made some really simple defensive errors. They never look particularly offensively threatening in the game. The midfield needs a massive revamp at Arsenal, but I question, as I always do, who'd want to go to Manchester United? Who would want to go there right now who's better than Fred, McTominay? Who's going to be the Pogba replacement? I'm not sure there's anyone else they sold for free, bought for 100 million, then sold for free again. He's a one-off in many ways. So, I don't really know what to say at this point about Manchester United. There's hope that Fred may be back by Monday's game. Jadon Sancho is a doubt for Thursday. Cavani, of course, is out. He's always out. Wan-Bissaka is a doubt. Shaw is out. Pogba won't play for them again. Doubts about Maguire. Fitness issues. And, of course, Greenwood is out already. So, huge injury problems. They don't want to play for the manager. I'm not sure they really want to be in the Conference League or Europa League. So, who knows if they'll win another game this season. They'll play 4-2-3-1 with Ronaldo up front, hope to get Ronaldo a chance and hope to score a goal. For Chelsea, I was at the game at Stamford Bridge on Sunday against West Ham, where West Ham actually made some changes, which they've barely done all season. And Chelsea created almost nothing. They had a half chance from Werner. They had the late chance from Pulisic when Dawson had been sent off, and they had a penalty, which was debatable. So, didn't do much going forward. Defensively, looked woeful. The fact West Ham didn't play any of their first choice offense is the reason Chelsea won that game. Thiago Silva looked all over the place. Trevor Chalobah looked a liability. Their best player, weirdly, was Ruben Loftus-Cheek at right wing back. Looked really, really good. He's very good. As a friend of mine said on the day as we were watching the game, was absolutely right. He's very good at attacking the space. He's very good at seeing the space in front of him, as a good wing-back's got to do, and driving the ball into it, which is what people like Andy Robertson do so brilliantly well, which is why he and Alexander-Arnold are so great at Liverpool. So to the game itself, I think that Chelsea are a better team than Manchester United. And I think, as you say, even the bookies have actually picked someone that isn't Man United this week. That's how incredibly bad Man United have been. You know, as we say every week, but new viewers all the time. Man United are always artificially low in the odds because so many people who put a casual bet on at the weekend will bet on Man United because they've heard of them and they know them to be good. So for it to be like this, nobody fancies Manchester United, not even the fly-by-night fans. This has now got into the mainstream opinion of not just people who gamble regularly and do it professionally or not every weekend. This has got into like your nan's mind now that Man United are useless and not worth betting on for it to be 3.4 and rising. And I'm not going to bet against that. And I certainly wouldn't bet on Manchester United right now. I would be looking here for a pretty dour game, a pretty low-scoring game. A draw at 3.5 to 3.7 going up towards the kickoff time is very, very likely. A draw, double chance it with a Chelsea win. Avoid Manchester United. You could also get Chelsea win under 1.5 goals for a pretty decent price as well. But that's about it for this, really.
We saw recently the head-to-head between these two teams, and we saw many draws. Actually, recently, if you go for under 2.5 goals, we have odds around 2. As you can see, also, they drew in Stamford Bridge. Many people are putting their money on Chelsea with odds 2.3 is brilliant. Actually, going for Chelsea, let's see also how motivated the Blues are ahead of this game. And the new match day starts on Saturday with a big one in St. James's Park. Newcastle, Liverpool. This is a massive one. I guess all the Citizens fans expect Liverpool to drop points because this stadium is tough for consecutive victories for Newcastle at home. 6 straight victories for the backpiece. But we know how good Liverpool are. We saw it against Villarreal. They have the availability to rotate many players. So do you expect Liverpool to drop points here or to be a tough game?
Well, firstly, 8.5 for Newcastle is good. That's a really good number. And again, we get to Saturday, and I think this will probably drift out to 9.5 for Newcastle to win. So it may well be worth just having a little punt on that this weekend because Newcastle at home, you know, Eddie Howe's come in and we talk about the Saudi Arabian money and whether it's fair and, you know, should they be allowed to invest in football and all of that. Those are legitimate conversations. And I want to make sure we keep referencing that. However, the situation is what it is. And Eddie Howe has come in and he bought players. He didn't exactly go out and buy Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. He bought Chris Wood and Kieran Trippier. They bought effective players. I know Bruno's slightly different to that, but he wasn't ready to play for weeks. And Eddie Howe has made more or less the same team with 1 or 2 additions. Very, very effective. I think they're the 3rd best team this calendar year, home and away, in the Premier League. 7 home wins in the season now, all achieved under Eddie Howe. Won the last, 5 or 6 in a row at home. Good teams beaten as well. Beaten Wolves, beaten Brighton, beaten Villa, beaten Palace. Went to Norwich last week and won, but still won. So playing real good football. Joe Linton looks fantastic in midfield, defensively sound, creating chances. Massive issues for Liverpool. Huge task for Liverpool. And if anyone can harness the power of 55,000 screaming Geordies at St. James's Park, they're going to be a big, big threat in this league moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if the investment is as predicted that Newcastle are Premier League champions within the next 5 years. That's how amazing it is to go to St. James's Park for a game of football. I highly advise everyone does it if they can. For Liverpool, no. For me, no. Apart from that, looks like everyone's fit from Wednesday night. And what is there to say? Minimal rotation. I don't think there'll be a great deal. I think we'll probably see Luis Diaz. I think we'll probably see Mo Salah, of course. We may well see Mane drop down to the bench. He started up front on Wednesday. Expect Jordan Henderson to be dropped out for somebody and expect not Konate to be at centre-half because he seems to be the Champions League centre-half. Apart from that, I wouldn't change a great deal because I think Jurgen Klopp will treat this with the utmost seriousness. And I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be real tight, this game. I'd be looking here that Liverpool still win it, but both teams score. And I'd be looking at the over market here. When I say tight, I mean in scoreline, not in the type of game. I think the game itself will be quite open, and I expect both teams to score. So Liverpool win, over 2.5 goals in the match. Both teams score.
Over 2.5 goals, we have odds 1.76. This is a tough one for Liverpool, traveling to Villarreal on Tuesday. Still, they cannot be relaxed because they have a 2-goal lead, but they have to go there and do a decent job. I went actually to St. James's Park, to the pub next to St. James's Park, which is in the very center of Newcastle, the stadium. Nice.
You survived. You survived it. Good. Well, good on you.
It's all right. It's difficult to understand Jordis for me, but it's good.
For everybody. Don't worry. For everybody.
Okay. Yeah. It's different city, we have to say, Newcastle, and it's a different night as well in England.
Love it. I couldn't recommend it higher to anybody, but it's going to be arduous. Good luck to you.
Jordi shots. Next game, we have Aston Villa, Norwich. Of course, the odds are very low for Aston Villa. What to expect if you are playing against Norwich, just in the countdown to go back to the Premiership for Aston Villa. Only 1 point in the last 5 games. I guess they are also waiting for the market, and for the new season to come under Steven Gerrard.
Yes, Villa wavering at the moment under Steven Gerrard. They're just listing aimlessly, playing poorly, creating nothing. Had a little burst a few weeks ago when they beat Southampton at home, but the Coutinho thing hasn't quite worked out. There's no way he's going to be staying at Aston Villa for next season. The only bright spot offensively recently has been Jacob Ramsey, who signed a new contract this week. I think he's going to be a star player in the Premier League, but a lot of issues. You're right to highlight the transfer market. I don't know how many they'll be able to bring in. I don't know how much money they have this summer, but they're going to be in a tough crowd of clubs with West Ham, with Leeds if they stay up, with Newcastle with their new money, who are all looking to press on to that level of challenging for Europa League and Champions League football. So they're going to be in that market, but I think at the moment, it's just about showing that these players have some confidence in Steven Gerrard, because so often when you end a season playing poorly, you start the next season playing poorly. And if Villa are as bad as this at the start of next season, Steven Gerrard won't make it to 12 games because they've been utterly, utterly woeful. So they have to win this game, and they will win this game because they're playing Norwich. So of course they're going to win this game. I've said it to you every week. Bet on Norwich to lose more often than not, and you will have won so far this season 22 bets. At the start of the season, I said to you 30, I think. So we're going to come just under 30 because they somehow won 5 and drew 6. The draws have been the one that's thrown me a bit. I didn't see them drawing any games, to be honest. Thought they might win a couple. But, you already would have won 22. You're going to win another one this week. Go for Villa to win. Go Villa win without conceding. I think they're going to want to put a show on here as well. Aston Villa in front of their fans who are just questioning Steven Gerrard. You can get Coutinho to score first and Villa to win 4-0 at 80-1. So I've been looking at that sort of fun market because they're going to win. I always like the group betting as well. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. You can get that for about 3. It's quite nice. There's no point doing it at 1.36, 1.45. So double it up with something.
We have optimistic people here with Norwich. We have Ankur and Senepaxla saying that Norwich is going to pick up points in Villa Park.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, you would have been wrong 22 times this season, but I've not got everything right, so go for it. Why not?
Well, Aston Villa on holidays. What to say about the next game? Southampton, Crystal Palace. Absolutely nothing to play for. Both teams are on holidays. Tough one, I guess, to bet. Perhaps in a low-scoring games in that Crystal Palace, they haven't scored goals in the last 3 games. Otherwise, I guess it's difficult to read. The bookies play Southampton as favorite.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's particularly hard to know what to put your money on here. This season, Southampton have drawn 13 games. Palace have drawn 14 games. Guess what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
3.58 for the draw. That's pretty nice, actually. Another draw for both in their last game. I think there's good things about both teams. There's bad things about both teams. But in general, an upper mid-table finish is considered quite rightly success for their budgets and their aims for the start of the season. The only thing worth doing here is a draw. I'd be looking at both teams' score because I think there's some poor defences out there. And you could double that up with James Ward-Prowse to score from outside the penalty area. That's a free kick or from open play. But of course, it's free kick we're talking about here. And you can get that at 8-1. So James Ward-Prowse scores from outside the area. This game's a draw and both teams score. I'm incredibly confident on this one.
Always we have good odds for draw, so it's interesting to put your money on the draw. Next game, this is much more interesting. Watford Burnley, because since we last talked, now we have Burnley out of the relegation zone. There is a miracle going on there without Sean Dyche beating Wolves, beating Southampton, and they have a good chance, of course, because they are going to Watford, a terrible team when they are playing at home, even away. There was a comment actually in our last video, Tom, saying that Watford wouldn't get thrashed by Man City because they have Roy Hodgson. Indeed, they were thrashed. Do you expect Burnley to get another victory?
Yeah, we won all our bets last week on Watford Man City, didn't we? I think that, Watford, they just throw spaghetti at the wall. That's how they do football, the Pozzo family. And if I was a Watford fan, I would want them out. I'd want them out because the way they run the club is a joke. It's an embarrassment to the legacy of Graham Taylor. It's an embarrassment to the long history of Watford Football Club. And it's embarrassment to football fans to come up, lose a couple of games, sack the manager, get someone else, sack the manager, get someone else. They have no identity. They get promoted because they have the parachute payments. They have more money than the other teams in the Championship, and they keep coming back again. At least Norwich have had an identity when they've done that. West Bromwich Albion, to a point, have. Watford, there's nothing. And I've been to a couple of their games recently at Vicarage Road, and they can score goals. You know, Dennis at the start of the season was scoring. Ismail Assar, the fans rate him. I'm not quite seeing it, but there is some potential there. You know, Chucho Hernandez has scored a couple of decent goals recently. So there's some nice stuff in Watford, but defensively appalling. Samir and Kayembe and Kabasele, garbage. Just garbage footballers. I'm sorry, but they're no business being in the Premier League. Whoever's doing the purchasing at Watford, that's who needs to resign, not the manager. For Burnley, incredible what Mike Jackson has done, because I thought they would go. I just thought they would go. Some of the performances under Sean Dyche this year have been as bad as they have ever been. But they always do it. They always just find a way to do it. You know, we talk a lot about at the top end of the table, you know, with Real Madrid, for example, the DNA of Real Madrid is that in the Champions League, the European Cup, even with the worst Real Madrid team in 20 years, they'll find a way. They will find a way to win. And they keep doing it, Real Madrid, right? And that's Burnley, in a way. This is the worst Burnley team in their 9-odd years in the Premier League. This is the biggest task they've ever had to stay in the Premier League. And they sacked Sean Dyche. And they're doing it. They're doing it again. I don't get how they're doing it. Like, suddenly, James Tarkowski and Nathan Collins can defend. Nick Pope is making saves all over the place. They're scoring goals. Even Matej Vidra scored a goal. I assumed he'd retired. And yet he's scoring goals. So, look, don't bet on Watford. Don't be insane. Bet on Burnley here. The fact that the Watford are slight favourites, I don't understand that. So go for Watford. They'll get to go for Burnley, sorry. They'll get to 3-1 by the time we get to kickoff. I would be looking here for a nervy, tight, close game where Burnley win, Watford do not score. It screams Watford 0, Burnley 1 to me.
It's interesting, or I don't understand how Watford can be favourite for a football game. Right now, going directly to the Premiership. Again, next game, Wolves, Brighton. Wolves, they are in a really bad run, but still they have chances to qualify for Europe. 3 defeats in the last 4 games. Brighton, one of these teams that even if they are on holidays, they surprised us getting good results lately. Remember that they beat Tottenham or Arsenal recently. Another draw, no? Could be this one. The bookies are screaming also draw.
Yes, and I would agree with the bookies wholeheartedly. This is likely to be a draw. We mentioned earlier on that the amount of draws that the Brighton have got this season, 14. They're the league leaders along with Crystal Palace. Wolves aren't like that. They either win or lose. It's been the Bruno Lage way. If you concede first, you lose. If you score first, you win. And very rarely has it been anything else. 4 draws and a couple of losses from leading positions. But apart from that, That's been the story of it. If Wolves score first, this game's going to be a nightmare for Brighton because they just do anything not to concede. They kill the game, Wolves. They're a nightmare to watch. I hope the fans are enjoying it. No neutral possibly could. So that's what they will try to do. But Brighton recently have been putting on a few shows. We're hearing Leandro Trossard should be fit. That'll make a massive, massive difference to them. They didn't have Bazuma because of suspension for a couple of games, but he returns. So that's great news for them. And there's a chance for Tariq Lamptey as well. So apart from Moda, everyone is fit for Brighton. For Wolves, recently losing Ruben Neves. Why have they been losing games recently? Him and Matinho are so good in midfield together. Lose one. The balance is completely off. And they lost Max Kilman for a period of time as well. So crucial to what they were doing defensively this season. So I'd be looking here for two scorelines. Number one, the draw, and neither team scores. Screams 0-0 this game in many, many ways. Brighton actually very good defensively as well. So the draw at 3.2 is nice. That will go up. 0-0 draw, well worth looking into. But also, Brighton win 1-0. Brighton win 1-0 is also something I'd be looking at here. So any way you can double up those scorelines, I'd be looking at it. Right now, Brighton are a better team than Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Blue Shark is telling us under 2.5 goals, but that pays very low. Even under 2 goals only pays 2.04. So imagine if the book is also scream 0-0, a goalless draw, or of course we are not going to have a lot of fun in this Wolves Brighton. Perhaps we have more fun in the last game we have on Saturday, Leeds Man City. Guardiola was talking about this game as soon as we hear the final whistle in the Champions League. Can be this a tricky game for Man City, Tom? Because Leeds, they are in really good form. The last 5 games, 3 victories, 2 draws under Jesse Marsch. And I guess if Man City fans are expecting Liverpool to drop points in St. James's Park, Liverpool fans also expect a hand, no? From Leeds in Elland Road.
They're going to need it, of course, because they've got to drop points somewhere, Man City, for Liverpool to be champions. Look, briefly on Leeds, what Bielsa was doing and had done at Leeds was fantastic, but Jesse Marsch has come in and said, let's do that, but without the insanity. So if you look at some of the Crystal Palace game on Monday Night Football earlier this week, he basically said there are still times where my player is just following the opposition player wherever he goes, and they're just leaving massive space behind them. Why are they doing that? And just little bits like that where it's taken time to stop doing the Bielsa thing. Yes, still be offensive. Yes, still get bodies forward. Yes, still take risks and press high. But don't just vacate space for the opposition with the ball to run into. You could just rotate Leeds. That one of the famous goals of the season, the Joel Matip goal for Liverpool against Leeds at Anfield in the 6-0 win, was a case in point. Mane, I think, was the offensive player, just walked out, and Matip did a 1-2, and it was about across 40 yards and walked in to an empty space and scored. And Jesse Marsch, to his credit, is a much more, I'll say competent, for the want of a better word, competent manager than Bielsa, right? And he's brought that to them. So fantastic, full credit. I think they might regret not winning and going to win on Monday with the fixtures that are coming up. But as you say, good points tally under Jesse Marsch. Done a good job. Hired 3 weeks earlier. They're safe already. For Man City, I understand why Guardiola says these things. And, he's a great manager for many, many reasons. But, I don't really buy that he was thinking about Leeds immediately. I don't really buy a couple of weeks ago they were talking about squad depth problems. No, he hasn't got any squad depth problems. And, I had to play Fernandinho right back for 20 minutes. Everyone's been doing that all season. Everybody. You had one issue for one game. And I have to feel like, sympathy for you. Everyone said there was times during December where they were playing teams with 11, 12, 13 players out. But they could rotate Riyad Mahrez for Raheem Sterling. No, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear that. No one's going to have any sympathy for you. They'll rotate again. I'm sure they'll rotate 6 to 7 players. They'll make no substitutions, but they will still win this game. I just don't see how Leeds can land a glove on Manchester City. Cancelo comes back in from midweek. Kyle Walker should be back. Stone's out, so it'll be Diaz and Laporte, very strong. Rotate the midfield, no weaknesses. Rotate the offense, no weaknesses. Even without Kevin De Bruyne, who might get a rest for this game, they will still win. I don't think it's going to be a thrashing. I think you're looking at potentially the game being goalless at halftime. City go on to win it by a couple of goals. City win without conceding, level at halftime.
As we are saying here, wine, rest, Leeds. No, this is Guardiola's motto. We have Grealish, Gundogan, Sterling. They all were on the bench against Real Madrid. So time for them to step up. And before that great semi-final that I'm already looking forward to watching it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Then drama.
What a noise that was. What a noise that was. I don't know how to process that noise.
Don't process it. Yeah, better. Next game, drama in Goodison Park. Everton, Chelsea. Last time we talked, we mentioned perhaps at the end of the week, Everton is in the bottom three. Was a bit unlikely, we have to say, but here they are after losing the Merseyside derby. They were competitive, we can say that, but they lost and they have a hard task to get points also from Chelsea. Of course, we have to see what Chelsea is doing against Man United. The good thing for Everton is that their calendar is kind of all right, no? They have Leicester, Watford, Brentford and Crystal Palace, so most of the teams are playing for nothing.
Yeah, yes, to a degree, I agree with some of that. But 8 wins in 32, it doesn't necessarily matter who you're playing. 1 win in 5 is not a great record right now for Frank Lampard. The run has to start with something. Even the victory over Manchester United didn't then spark something else in the next games. With these matches, it's all about character. It's why people like Anthony Gordon are playing every single game right now. You've got to have the stomach for it, the stones for it, the cojones for it, the bravery for it. If you've got that, you'll get something in this game. If they are able to beat Chelsea for intensity, they will win this game, Everton, because they have a lot more to play for. Plus, of course, Chelsea have played on the Thursday and would have played in the Premier League since Everton last played as well. So there's loads here for Everton to go for. I don't necessarily understand how they're going to win it. If they do it, it'll be a surprise to me, and certainly nothing I would bet on. 2-0 at 23-1 tells you its own story. For Chelsea, there are two Chelseas. One of them is a dour, miserable, aimless, panicky, no pattern of play team, which we saw, for example, against West Ham last week, where it took a dodgy sending off and a last-minute goal for them to win the game. We saw it against Brentford at Stamford Bridge recently, where it wasn't quite sure what they were doing. The other Chelsea is an utterly ruthless, savage winning machine, which we saw against Southampton a few weeks ago. I expect this to be the Southampton team. I expect this to be Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Christian Pulisic back in the team following his substitute appearance at the weekend. I expect there to be a few issues defensively, of course. There's no Reece James, I don't believe, by that game. Might be back on Thursday, but Reece James I've got listed as a doubt. Rudiger is missing more than likely because he's going somewhere else. No Christensen, doubts about Thiago, all of that. So Chelsea, I expect to get on the front foot from the outset, win the first half, win the second half, and win by several clear goals. I think they're going to wallop Everton, truth be told. And this could be your Asian handicap game. I'd be looking at least 3-0 minimum for Chelsea.
Poor Lampard. Poor Everton fans. Chelsea, let's check the Asian handicap. Then for Chelsea, we can go minus 1.5, for instance. So they win for 2 goals margin and you get your money, and odds are 3.3. Not bad if you choose this one to be your Asian handicap. Next game, Tottenham, Leicester City. This is a good one. We need a reaction from Tottenham after being unable to win the last 2 games against Brentford, against Brighton, without scoring. We were seeing the best Tottenham of the season. What has happened, Tom? And they have a good chance because, of course, Leicester, they are in the middle of the semi-finals against Roma for the conference, so good timing for Tottenham.
Yeah, it's funny with Tottenham. We spoke a lot about what happens to teams when they're in the box seat, the driving seat. It's up to them now to keep on winning things, which is why people always gush about Man City under Guardiola. They go top and they don't get nervous about it. They keep on winning. Tottenham Hotspur took 4th and suddenly have crumbled. Appalling against Brighton. Pretty bad against Brentford. And I am expecting a reaction at some point because this is Antonio Conte, and you can't play lifelessly and listlessly under Antonio Conte. It's just not allowed. It's not a thing, even if he is thinking about doubling his money and winning the league at Paris Saint-Germain. So I expect Tottenham to get on the front foot here, and I expect them to score a few goals. We haven't seen much from Harry Kane as a creator or a goal scorer for a few weeks. Heung-min Son's drifted out. Kulusevski, he's having his first bad run of form, though no faith in Bergwijn or Moura for the manager. He doesn't even bring them on except for like the 85th minute in desperation. Could rotate here. I would advise it, but I don't think that he will. For Leicester, quite rightly, you pick out Thursday night, the game in the Conference League. Massive for the club. The league season's completely over. Anyone who's even slightly doubtful will get rested for this game because there's no even slight aims now in the Premier League. So because of that, Tottenham will win. 1.5 isn't great. So I've been looking here at Tottenham to win without conceding a goal and winning both halves as well, just because of the way it's fallen for Leicester.
Yeah, because they are in good form, actually. The Foxes, only one defeat in the last 6 games in the Premier League. But, of course, they are focusing that semi-finals. Tottenham to win 2-0, 2.7. Next game on Sunday, your West Ham against Arsenal. If Leicester is not going to pay attention to that game in the Premier League, probably it's exactly the same, no? For West Ham, although it's never easy to win in the London Stadium. And with Arsenal, it's kind of the same, no? When we don't expect them to win, they win, and when we expect them to drop points, I mean, they do the opposite as we think. So perhaps also they lose in the London Stadium. Why not?
Why not is because obviously West Ham have got the first leg on the Thursday, the second leg the following Thursday. Their record after European games, I think, is 3 wins from the 10 this season. It's not particularly good. And there are many signs now that this very small group of West Ham players, of which there's about 8 you can guarantee will play every single minute of every single game, it's evident now that they are focusing just purely on winning the Europa League. You know, for the first time this season, Moyes rotated against Chelsea. He doesn't rotate. He never rotates. And he rotated 6 players out for the Chelsea game last week. He also had to go 3 at the back because Zuma is injured, though there is some hope if West Ham made the Europa League final, he'd be fit. Issa Diop is out. Again, similar story with him. Angelo Bonner is back in training, been missing since November. And Craig Dawson was sent off last week. And so they have no centre-halves. They have no central defenders at the club for a game that, if they'd have won it, I think that would guarantee them Europa League football at least, because of what Wolves have got coming up left. I don't think the West Ham are going to risk anybody. They're not going to play Antonio. They're not going to play Rice. I wonder if they'll even play Souček. They're certainly not going to be playing people like, well, Jared Bowen. You know, people who are definitely going to play. Probably Lanzini as well. All these guys are definitely going to play in the Europa League games. So I'd expect Yarmolenko, maybe even poor little Nikola Vlasic.
Time for your Yarmolenko. Yeah.
It's his time. It's his time for Andre. To finally do something. He doesn't even cut in and shoot. It's so annoying. It's the one thing he's good at. He doesn't do it. So, look, I expect West Ham to rotate. And who's going to blame them? Who's going to blame them now? David Moyes, to his credit, has not done it all year because he still thought West Ham could qualify for the Champions League through the league. And he tried to run this 13-odd players to both trophies. And suddenly the semi-finals come around. West Ham will be in European competition in May, which is just ludicrous. And so he's going to rotate. Because of that, I expect Arsenal to go on to win this game. Not because Arsenal are particularly good. There's doubts about Saka, or no Tierney and no Partey. And they're not playing particularly good football right now. And Nketiah has given them a bit of goal-scoring threat up front that they didn't have with Lacazette for long spells. But issues at right back, issues at left back, issues in midfield. If this was any other time this season, I'd be back in West Ham to win. Any other time. But in this particular game, I just don't see any scenario. You can double chance it if you really want to with a draw and an Arsenal win. But I'd be looking at Arsenal win all day long. West Ham normally score. Even with their second team, they normally score at home. So I'd be looking both teams score, but Arsenal win. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw at half-time and Arsenal have won by full-time. And I'd expect Arsenal's goals to come late in the day as well.
The odds are crazy for West Ham to win. Of course, the bookies know that they have the Europa League semi-finals, but if someone feels optimistic, 4.8 is great. And last one on Monday is Man United Brentford. You've analyzed already how poor Man United are, so it's not worth it to spend our time there. But what is worth saying, I think, is that the odds for Brentford are pretty good. We have to wait, of course, to see what Man United are doing against Chelsea, and Brentford are in great form, actually. So it's also good to put some money. Again, we have to wait, but why not? No, always going for the underdog against Man United.
Do it. Just do it. It's going to be at 5-1 by Monday. And Man United are not very good. And they played on Thursday. And they've got injury problems. And the manager's leaving. I know they've got Ronaldo. And that's always an element. It's the reason Man United aren't like 18th. Because they've got Ronaldo. But Brentford, I was doing their game Saturday last week. There's an energy about Brentford. A buzz about Brentford. Ivan Toney's playing great. Brian Mbeumo brings great energy. I know they've got a few injuries. But I expect Christian Norgard to be back. Christopher Ayer to be back. Maybe even Ethan Pinnock to be back. So it should be the first choice defense, the first choice midfield, the first choice offense in really good form. And at 4.5 to 4.8, that'll go to 5.2, 5.4 by the time you get to Monday. It's not worth putting your money on Man United with these odds. It is worth backing just a standard up and down Brentford win.
Wow, 4.8. Of course, it's good to put our money there. Blue Shark is going for Brentford to win. Even, well, if it's happening, it's better. But if not, it's worth trying. Tom, do you have an ACCA for us?
I do. I have a triple. I'm enjoying the triples. They're coming in quite nicely at the moment. Liverpool will win against Newcastle. Tight though it'll be. I'd still back Liverpool because they're Liverpool. Same with Man City against Leeds. Throw in an Arsenal win at West Ham as well. And the odds aren't too bad for you. It's getting a bit tough now to do these triples because so many teams have nothing to play for and that sort of thing. But around 4-1 isn't too bad.
Okay, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. Tom, thank you again for being with us. Good luck for tonight's game and goodbye.
See you next time.
See you.